And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from both Dylan H. and Jason Voorhees himself, who asked the question, who would win in a fight, Jason Voorhees or the Candyman? Rest in peace, Tony Todd, who I believe passed away only last year. So this is kind of like a rock and a hard place, not rock and a hard place, sorry, an immovable object and a unstoppable force kind of scenario. The reason for that is Jason's origin has generally stayed the same, but what he becomes is kind of varied in each lore. Sometimes he's a revenant, which is basically a kind of zombie. Other times he's a demon, and he just possesses a body. He can only be killed by, the blood of another Voorhees. Sometimes he's a cyborg with Uber Jason. And sometimes, if you go into the comics with, like, Freddy vs. Jason, he becomes a fucking Deadite. Ash vs. the Evil Dead and Freddy vs. Jason. He's a goddamn Deadite. So what Jason has kind of varied over time. But the general idea is that he's considered a force of nature. He doesn't need to sleep or eat. He is not impervious to damage. He just kind of shakes it off. His regenerative abilities are kind of second to none. At least in his world. Like, they are impressive, to say the least. That's not to say he can't be killed. It's just that he survives most damage that isn't like blowing a hole out of his chest, blowing his heart out, or blowing his head off. And even then, it all depends on which lore you're looking at. For example, if you're looking at, say, the Uber Jason lore, then yeah, you can just straight out kill him. The problem is that it takes a lot to straight out kill him at that point. If you're looking at, say, the original couple films, then yeah, he can still be straight out killed. If you're looking at Revenant Jason, well, if you blow him up, it would work. But if you're then going with Jason Goes to Hell Jason, he's a demon. So blowing him up doesn't even work because his spirit, the will of Jason, persists. So it's really all over the place. But all the common traits always are that he's immensely durable, can take a lot of damage and keep going, will regenerate to some degree, immense strength. Like among the slashers, he is arguably the strongest one. He's not dumb. He's more simple. He's not, even though he can do some surprisingly complex things, like he can kind of lure people into traps and whatnot, he knows how to just wait. He's got the patience of a saint, weirdly enough. He's not doing any complex strategies. This isn't Freddy Krueger or even Ghostface a lot of the time, who will do elaborate plans or figure out creative ways to kill mess with someone. Yeah, Jason can kill people in creative ways, but that's not through his own creativity. That's just because he's a brute using brute force or a spear gun in some cases to get the job done. It just happens to be in a somewhat creative way sometimes, like pushing someone's face through a piece of metal on an RV. Jason usually wields a machete, but he can wield pretty much anything that's available to him. And he's pretty tough to put down in a physical fight. Like, no one in any medium that Jason has been in has beaten him on a one-on-one fight. He's just too much of a monster of a being to kind of do that, at least with the people in his world. Throw him against other individuals of much higher caliber worlds, and it's a very different story. But yeah, Jason, and no, for that one person who may chime in, Jason is not hyperversal. Stop bullshitting. Just stop doing that. Stop getting people to try to go to that wiki you probably managed that says Jason is hyperversal. This is the real wiki, not other wikis. That's a load of shit. You know why? Because a real wiki doesn't need to say that. Anyway, because someone did that at one point in my Freddy versus, what was it, Dracula? Yeah, Dracula video. I keep saying Freddy. Jason versus Dracula video where they said, Jason's hyperversal or something like that. I'm looking up, where does this come from? It's a fan-made wiki that's just there to just wank Jason Voorhees off. So yeah, no. Anyway, so Jason is exceptionally strong. We obviously know his backstory. He was a deformed kid, possibly had some mental retardation to him, or at least very minimum was mentally stunted. And he thought to have drowned due to some careless counselors who were busy getting into rocks off. And his mom went on a killing spree. Turns out he was alive and, has been killing ever since. The Candyman, though, poses a unique challenge for Jason. See, the Candyman, and I can't remember the character's actual name. He's now the Candyman. But I'll just call him Tony Todd. I'll just call him Tony. Tony was an artist and a free black man, if I remember correctly, who got involved with the daughter of, I believe, a plantation owner, and I might be fudging the details a little bit. He got involved with a white woman. Her parents found out. They lynched him, cut off his hand, beat him to near death, smothered him in honey, and covered him in bees. Needless to say, he wasn't happy in the his spirit was not happy. And so now, every time you say Candyman, I believe it's like 5 times you say it in the mirror, he will appear and kill the person who said it. So because of that, he is literally a spirit. He is a spirit of revenge, if you will. Be my victim. And he carries along many abilities that come with that. One, he does have somewhat of a physical presence in the real world as he's able to interact and kill people. So there is some level of physical presence there. But beyond that, he's capable, obviously, he has this nest of bees that live within him. And he's capable of just summoning them out if he needs to attack people. He's just, be my victim, kissing a woman, just bees in the mouth. Obviously, he carries his right hand as a hook. I believe it's his right hand, or is that his left? No, it's his right hand, I think. It's his right hand, based on that image. I mean, one second, I'm just gonna be sure about that. Actually, that looks more like his left hand. I can't remember if it's... Anyway, one of his hands is a hook. I can't remember which one. I think it's his left, actually, based on that angle. Now that I'm looking at it, I think it's the left. But he's also got enhanced physicality, because he can lift a grown man with one arm. He's capable of just disappearing and reappearing at will. He can be summoned just via someone mentioning his name. Multiple times, mind you, but mentioning his name. He's got hypnotic capabilities as well. He is a powerful individual, but he is not infallible either. At first, it was believed like fire would take him down, but that's really only kind of temporarily stopped him. Then his soul was confined to a mirror, and then it was also confined to another part of his soul was confined to a painting that was made. So it's kind of like Horcruxes, weirdly enough. You got to destroy the thing his soul is attached to in order to really put him down. So that in and lies the problem with Jason. Except for one version I'll talk about in a little bit. There's no version of Jason that can interact with a spirit like this. Jason can't just slice the Candyman in half and he wins the battle, because the Candyman, technically speaking, doesn't have a corporeal form. He can solidify and kind of interact with the real world, but any damage he takes would really just be non-existent. It may look like he gets damaged and he just reappears. However, on the other side of that coin, though, the Candyman actually doesn't have a lot to hurt many of the versions of Jason either. I mean, even if he puts the hook into his head and starts to kind of just yank, 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 Jason's body's very durable, so it would take a while for him to really kind of do anything. He's more like just stabbing in the head. And Jason has survived shots to the head multiple times. So unless he's literally just taking his head off, which you're not doing that with a hook, unless he gets him right, and here's a little anatomy for you. Unless he gets him, say, right behind the windpipe, yanks out the windpipe, and then tries to pull his head back, which is a lot of strategy I think the Candyman doesn't usually employ. And even then, that's not a guarantee, because he's still got to get past the spine, and that's going to be a durable spine, because it's Jason. And that being is something ain't right with him. But seriously, no, he's just very powerful and very physically able. So, weirdly enough, both these guys don't have a really good avenue to take the other one down. But if you were to do a battle of attrition, well, I guess the Candyman would win, because Jason can't really hurt him. And he's a spirit, which means he's not going to get tired out or anything like that. And eventually he's going to take enough chunks out of him that Jason's just going to, kind of drop. Unless it's a version of Jason with a healing factor, like the comics, in which case, then it's just so back and forth that one of them just gets bored. But, as I mentioned, there is, hypothetically, one version of Jason that does have the ability to interact with the Candyman, even in his more corporeal form, just as a spirit. And that would be, as I mentioned earlier, the Ash versus Freddy versus Jason versus the Evil Dead series turned Jason into a Deadite. If I remember, and I believe I remember that correctly, they did. I do believe, if I remember not, if I'm not, well, I'll be sure about it right now. Is Jason a Deadite? Now, I believe that they did turn, just in that comic series, yes, is a Deadite from the Evil Dead franchise. Now, keep in mind, too, that while it's not completely set in the movies or anything, we do see the Necronomicon in Friday the 13th. So, yes, it actually, and yeah, Deadites are a species of parasitic demonic spirits that feed on souls of living people and possess their bodies. So, yes, technically, now, that being said, if you ask, say, like Reddit, they say, no, Jason is not a Deadite and has no relation to the Evil Dead lore outside a single Easter egg in the 9th installment. In the 9th installment? What? Which stuff? Sorry, what's that? Jason, really? Jason goes to hell? What? But anyway, yeah. So yes, so at least that, okay, it was Jason goes to hell. They revealed that, but yes. In certain, I want to be very clear to the Jason Voorhees fans out there, it's only certain continuity that he is in fact a Deadite. The main continuity, as far as I know, he's not a Deadite. But then again, maybe I'm wrong on that. I can't say I'm not going to profess I'm the one and all expert on Jason Voorhees. But what I'm trying to get at here is because he's demonic in nature, and because he is a demon of sorts, he should be able to interact with spirits, at least on some base level. Which means, even with his, let's just call them what they are, Horcruxes, Candyman could be hurt by Jason. Because if he's able to interact with the spirits, he should be able to damage spirits. Now, is he going to be able to permanently kill Candyman? No. Again, with his soul tied to other items, as long as those items are around, he can come back. But could he incapacitate and like temporarily drive the Candyman away? Yeah, I could believe that, because the Candyman doesn't interact with other supernatural entities in his own world, assuming there are any. So we don't know how he would fare against that. As far as we can know, he's the only one, or at the very minimum, he's the only one that's like as dangerous as he is. We would have to assume there probably are other supernatural entities similar to the Candyman, maybe some benevolent, maybe some even more evil than him. Just because he's a precedent. So yeah, that's a good question. If he's got other supernatural entities in his world. But point being, if we're dealing with any form of Jason that is a Deadite, and I'm not saying the main Jason is, like I said, I'm saying that there are minor continuities where he does become a Deadite, or is a Deadite, then we have to go under the assumption that he should be able to interact with a spirit, damage a spirit, possibly even, I guess, kill a spirit? I don't know how. We know you could theoretically kill a spirit through different mediums, fictions, whatever. I don't know if he'd be able to do that, but at the very minimum, he would drive Candyman back, because at that point, Candyman still doesn't have a method of really putting Jason down. But now Jason has a method of, at minimum, injuring the Candyman. So if we're looking at the majority of continuities, it would be the Candyman just at a straight battle of attrition, or we got to call it a draw. But if you're going with a Deadite version of Jason Voorhees, and again, very few of them, but yeah. And I know I'm going to get someone who says, Jason's always been a Deadite. And then I'm going to get someone who says, no. And then it's going to just start a problem, flame war in the comments. By the way, please don't try to do that. I would really appreciate us trying to just have a decent community here and not be assholes. But I can't moderate everyone. I can't. That's not true. I hypothetically could. I don't want to be that guy, though. That just now turns me into the channel Nazi, and I don't want to do that. Anyway, though, I will lean towards, in the overall bout, the majority goes to it's probably a draw, to be honest. They're probably just going to eventually go their separate ways and just ignore each other. But And again, in a battle of attrition, if this kept going for God knows how long, alternate or until one of them eventually is incapacitated in whatever way, I'd go Candyman, except in those minor, like 10% tile fights where Jason is a Deadite, in which case I go Jason. Anyway, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. But thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. I'll see you next time.